Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and today I've got hot takes on Justin Jefferson and Katy Perry.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan with the Wide Left Substack. Excited to hear about those hot takes. More excited about the fact that we finally have an episode without Luke Braun.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Coach Finch's team just allowed 211 points last night. Next on the Minnesota Basketball Party.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party.
Welcome in where defense is as optional here as it is in the NBA All-Star Game. It's the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. You met Luke, you met Arif, and I'm Sam Ekstrom. We're glad you're watching us today on this President's Day on Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We'd appreciate that. We're also on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, SiriusXM, Amazon Fire, Roku, and even the 24/7 YouTube live stream here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Plenty to get to today, including a pro football talk-based rumor that is a head-scratcher around Justin Jefferson. Free agency target series continues with, yes, kickers, extremely important, and I'll be pounding the table for that. And a Viking on American Idol? Yes, it happened. We'll get to it and dissect it in excruciating detail.
Or it could be a boat.
But let's start with Justin Jefferson, because this was I don't want to say bombshell, maybe one level shy of that. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, says that the holdup with the contract negotiations is that the Vikings don't want to guarantee beyond year one. If this is true, it's a head scratcher. I can't believe it's true.
You think back to last year, right? Everything we heard, multiple reports, we were super close to getting a deal done. Now you fast forward to today, it's almost like, all right, took one step forward, two steps back. That's just kind of the vibe I'm getting. I think my big question, we'll wait for Luke to get in, but Arif, maybe you know this as well. What exactly is the difference between just the normal guaranteed money we hear about all the time and this vested guaranteed money? Because I know that's kind of the word or term that I've heard get flung out a few times with this story. And maybe more importantly, like at the end of the day, is this a cap hit thing, saving every penny you can? Does this come back to like the Wilfs, Ziggy's bank account and like the literal cash flow situation? Like what's the hang up behind the hang up when we hear this kind of guaranteed money conversation?
Right. So first of all, like we have to, suppose that the rumor is accurate, right? Like we have no idea how accurate, this rumor is. I would like to hear some follow-up, but as Jason Fitzgerald over the cap pointed out, this is actually not as unusual as it sounds. The Vikings have generally not guaranteed beyond the first year. They did have to for TJ Hawkinson. So it sounds like this is actually not a hard line that they'll take. And so, yeah, maybe they don't want to guarantee beyond the first year, but in a negotiating process, you don't always get what you want. So I don't know that this is a true hang up, but we also, like you mentioned, Luke, have to take into account different contract structures and the way that they impact the player, the way that they impact the team, the way that they impact the cash flow, like you mentioned. And something like a vested guarantee or a rolling guarantee is one that maybe, say, kicks in at the end of a league year. So if, for example, as a contract structure note, if Justin Jefferson is under contract under the third day of the 2024 league year, which he would be, right? 2025 automatically guarantees, right? So you guarantee 2024, and then in the first year of that deal, if he's on the roster, it guarantees 2025. What that does is means that he's functionally guaranteed a large amount of money, right? But what ends up happening for the team's perspective is that they don't have to put that money in escrow until later, right? And so they actually literally have more cash loose available for the liquid available for them to spend on stuff, right?
Still got to pay it. Don't have to pay it all in one giant lump sum and put it to the side right now today when you sign that, on the dotted line.
From the team's perspective, yeah, you still have to pay it. From
you can put it in Bitcoin and get interest on it.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it interest, really. It's more value inflation, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
But like from Jefferson's perspective, it wouldn't be any different. He receives the money in a rolling guarantee or true guarantee at the same time anyway, because it's not a signing bonus. He doesn't get it up front, but the team loses the money right away in a true guarantee. That's just the nature of the CBA. This was meant to prevent the type of insolvency that hurt a bunch of startup leagues, right? That players wouldn't get their paychecks that they were guaranteed and stuff like that. It's an old rule, maybe that you want to get rid of it or whatever. But if you guarantee a contract, you have to have it in escrow. Now, if it's fully guaranteed, that's the case, right? So I don't know that this is as bad as it sounds. There's a lot of contracts that are like that. Now, mind you, most players don't want that kind of contract just because it's always better to have a little bit more security. But like Devontae Adams's contract is structured like that. He's still signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. So you take a look at some contracts around the league and it's kind of similar. Like Tyreek Hill's first 2 years are fully guaranteed. And then after that, it's rolling guarantees. Like, that's more than what the report is saying, right? Beyond the first year guaranteed, right? But there's less guaranteed in a lot of these contracts than you think, without less security for the player because they are in rolling guarantees. Plus, if he gets a large signing bonus, none of it matters because you can't cut the guy until year 4 anyway, because you'll accelerate the dead cap. So he's functionally guaranteed a lot of money anyway in a world with a signing bonus, right? So that's probably it. Plus, I think what really the Vikings want to do, my guess is what they want to do, is that they want to be able to restructure these contracts down the road, which gives the player security when that contract is restructured, because it turns salary that's not guaranteed, including salary that would be functionally guaranteed, into signing bonus so that you can kick the can down the road on salary cap. So this isn't the case of the Vikings being stingy necessarily. Could be, right?
Sure.
But it could be the case where the Vikings are paying attention to structure in a way that would allow them cap management opportunities down the road, right? So it's not, hey, we're going to cut Justin Jefferson in 2025 if he gets injured. It's more, hey, in 2025, we'll have some concerns about the cap, so we're going to turn his salary into signing bonus and then create cap space then or whatever, right? So that's really kind of the direction that I think that this is probably going in. Again, assuming that this is true. Again, they didn't do this for TJ Hawkinson, so I imagine they'd actually fold fairly quickly on this in an actual negotiation. I'm not really that concerned about it.
If you were, so knowing all that, great breakdown, great explanation. If you're JJ, let's just say in this situation, how much is that going to sway you one way or the other? Like either way, I'm still getting my money. It's just not my fashion. Yeah, well, of course, right. Yeah. Well, okay. What would you guess though? Like how big of a stall up could this cause? I guess the further we get into the summer training camp, all that.
Yeah, I think that even if practical guarantees are high, which Arif insinuates they would be, I think that ego, hubris plays into it a little bit, whether it's the agent or the player, a combination of both. But I think that Justin Jefferson saying he wants to break the bank, I think he's serious about that. He told Minnesota reporters last year that with what he's accomplished, he's not like other players. Like he's said that, and he wants the contract to reflect that. And it's all about, like Kirk Cousins said, it's about what the contract means. It's about what it represents. And I think he wants it to represent the biggest guarantee, the biggest annual figures. I think that there is a superlative element here that needs to be met for Justin Jefferson to be happy with it. Oh my goodness. Arif.
Oh no.
He's here.
I thought it was free.
Did you play the breaking news sound for me just showing up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
On President's Day, our president. Here he is.
Remember when we had a doorbell? We had a whole thing for this.
Yeah, I lost that.
Wow, I forgot
somewhere along the line.
Wow.
Somewhere along the
Can
line.
we just steal the old AIM noises for like the door open, door closed?
That would actually be super sick.
Dude.
I love that. I don't think we'd get in trouble. We should do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, no one's going to claim copyright on that. Justin Jefferson, Luke Braun. Florio contract. You know the bit. What's going on here? Arif just told us it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I talked about it on Locked On Vikings today. It's not a big deal because I don't think it involves any new information. As far as I understand, the Vikings haven't done anything new with Justin Jefferson because they're focusing on like the guys with deadlines coming up, which I think Marcus Davenport's is today, actually. I think he voids out today and
Oh,
becomes a
wow.
free agent.
Okay.
Oh,
So
no,
they're
not that.
making those decisions. So I don't think that any like new information about a negotiation would happen because I don't think any new negotiation has happened. So I think he's just reiterating what he said at the beginning of the season when it first came out that JJ wasn't going to sign a new contract, which is this like vested guarantee thing. I don't know if you guys have talked about that yet, but like it's
yeah, a little bit.
It sounds to me, kind of trying to read between the lines with Florio and what like Darren Wolfson has reported, that they came together on a number and maybe even on a guaranteed number, like the actual amounts that they had agreed to, and they were just trying to figure out the structure. And the whole thing about the Wolves of it all would be, okay, we can guarantee you $90 million, but we can't physically get $90 million in liquid cash. So we have to like roll some of those guarantees and like some of those guarantees vest. And for whatever reason, Jefferson's like not agreeing to that, or is asking for more guarantees, more fully guaranteed money than the Wilfs can like physically get together at once for a signing.
Yeah, and it should be noted that like when a player and a team disagrees on a contract, that's like not news, right? Right? Like that's
also an incredibly solvable problem. Like this whole thing is very solvable, and they just kind of ran out of time.
The Wilfs will sell the esports team they have tomorrow, and boom, they've got the cash.
There you go.
There you go.
But I mean, most likely they'll borrow against it, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I don't know if their credit
which like physically takes time. You know.
Yeah.
So if that was going to be the case, like, and they wanted to have this done before the season, but that offer happened on like September 7th. And it's like, it takes a little bit too much time to get that money together. We can't quite do it. And then it's really easy to see that getting warped and reported weird. And then suddenly it feels like way more of a thing than it is.
If a contract hasn't been signed, they don't agree on a contract, which means we don't need news that they don't agree on a contract, right?
Yeah.
So the degree of disagreement is what matters. And we didn't get any of that, as far as I can tell, from the report. All we got is that the Vikings don't want to guarantee more than the first year. Heck, I bet they don't want to guarantee anything, but you can't always, get that, right? And so it's whatever, right? Like I think the degree to which the Jefferson camp is upset by this, obviously they leaked it, right? So like some level of upset, but they didn't leak that Jefferson's about to walk, right? They just leaked, hey, let's leak something that sounds bad. The best non-quarterback in the league is not getting guaranteed beyond his first year. Man, that sounds awful. Let's leak that. See if we can move the negotiation a little bit. That's what happened. So, okay.
Ear infection coming in Justin Jefferson's future.
Oh boy.
Plenty more to get to on today's show, including mid-tier quarterbacks in the draft. Do they move the needle for you? And Blake Proehl on American Idol, an intense breakdown coming up today. On the rest of this Minnesota Football Party episode. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you were following the All-Star game like live over-under last night, wow, what a trip that must have been. If that was hopefully you didn't have the under for your first $5 bet, because that thing went way over. And if you win your first $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets if you're a new customer at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams. Quick bets, live same-game parlays. Check out the Parlay Hub, exclusive props, first basket scorer, and more. Second half of the NBA season is about to get underway, so visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We have investigated all the top 6 quarterbacks in the draft. We have our opinions. We've staked our claim. We planted our flag. What about the mid-tier? What about the Spencer Rattlers, the Jordan Travises, Michael Pratt from Tulane, Sam Hartman? Those are 4 names. There's more, but those are 4 names that kind of exist in that 3rd round, 4th round zone where some teams might be looking at developmental pieces. Do any of them excite you, or does it feel like a Jaron Hall redux, a Kellen Mond type swing? Would anyone like to volunteer a name that intrigues them?
Well, I mean, Rattler, he's the hottest name of the bunch right now, just because everything that just took place down at the Senior Bowl. Like when you get to this second tier that you're talking about, he's typically the first name that gets brought up. It feels like anyways, MVP of the game, made some pretty good throws, drove his team down for a couple big scores. And I think all in all, when you look at that week, and Arif can, speak to this a little bit more than I can. He was there, but, improved his stock, especially when you compare him to his peers that never really did much, it didn't seem. The Penix, Nix, Sam Hartman from Notre Dame, none of them really wowed that much. So just kind of by default, it feels like right now, like, okay, we got to pick one. We're going to go with Spencer Rattler. And I've noticed with him too, there's some people out there that just can't quit him. The 5-star recruit, if you remember, Lincoln Riley's first quarterback, he kind of handpicked, tons of buzz and hype coming out of high school. Never really lived up to any of it, though. Flops around a little bit, ends up in South Carolina. Really bad offensive line, which I will say for his playing style, being that kind of pure pocket guy, wants to be in structure as long as possible. And then, if it's not there, okay, now I'll create with my legs, try to create something outside the pocket. That offensive line didn't do him much help. I will just say that. But, you think about just the whole process with this second tier after these first big 5 guys, I would say, depending on how you feel about Penix and Nix. It just seems like Rattler's the guy right now. And outside of that, not a lot of people are really getting you very excited, it feels like. Curious as far as what maybe Arif saw down at the Senior Bowl that could be different from that, though.
Yeah, Rattler was fine at the Senior Bowl. Nothing that really made me overjoyed to see him. The problem is like these like mid-round quarterbacks, I haven't taken the time to watch them like I have like Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy or whatever, right? Like I've watched a little bit of them. I wanted to get some context when I was watching the Senior Bowl. There's some guys at the Senior Bowl that I kind of want to watch more of, like the Nepo baby, Carter Bradley. He did pretty well at the Senior Bowl. I want to watch a little bit more. Gus Bradley's son, by the way. That's why he's the Nepo baby.
Gus Bradley.
Speaking of Nepo babies, Blake Proehl segment coming up later in the show.
But first of all of these mid-round quarterbacks are also old, right? They're all 23, 24, right? In addition to and if you can't get started soon, it's really difficult for me to buy in. There's that. But Rattler, obviously he has the name. He was relatively consistent compared to the other quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl, which is not a wonderful environment to evaluate. Somebody like Joe Milton has tremendous upside. He's exciting, but he's just so far removed, I think, from good play.
Yeah, he's just not good. He's fun, but he's not good.
Yeah, I can't. Jordan Travis is kind of interesting, but really I think it's the guys that I just haven't had any time to watch that are the most intriguing, just because it's hey, if I watch more, maybe I can uncover something that I'm kind of excited about. Maybe this guy is a really good processor and I haven't been able to really watch it. So somebody like, Michael Pratt or a Carter Bradley or whoever, by virtue of the fact that there hasn't been very much on them, suggests maybe that there could be something there, because we've watched a lot of Joe Milton, just generally the draft media, and people aren't excited about him. And he has the strongest arm in the draft. If you're not excited about this guy with the strongest arm in the draft, he's probably not good. So I'd rather kind of be hey, nobody knows who this mid-round small school, group of 5 or FCS guy is. Maybe there could be something there. I'm not excited about Talia Tagovailoa. I'm not excited about some of these other guys, Jordan Travis, right? But I am intrigued, right? Which is not to say that I think they'll be good or bad or whatever. But I would like to dig in and see maybe, hey, we haven't been focusing on them. Maybe they're worth a little bit of focus.
Yeah, Michael Pratt is the one guy that I'm still intrigued to go watch. Yeah. I haven't watched him yet. Arif, you bring up a great point too. All these guys are old. The COVID year finally kind of came up and caught us this year, it feels like. You're seeing a lot of 4 or 5 year guys, a lot of 22, 23, 24-year-olds in this group. And, circling it back to Spencer Rattler, it's kind of like what we hear about with Bo Nix. Yeah. It's just well, okay, but the pro is he's got so much experience now. 5 seasons as a starter, over 2,600 snaps. But it's like what Luke always says. It's okay, well, yeah, that's great. You got all this experience now, but why do we
His
still
experience
not know?
being but
Yeah, why do we still not know what?
This
or
is the
who
Pat
you
Shurmur lesson.
are? Right. Like, why didn't it ever click yet? Because that's obviously a big red flag for concern. And that's the thing it feels like with Spencer Rattler right now. Like, Reese, right? He didn't wow anybody, but just by default, he looked the best there. He got the MVP award. So I see a lot of people that want to cling on to the hype of what we hoped he would be coming out of high school, but nobody can really confidently put their finger on him yet as far as like, okay, he's a little undersized, he's aggressive, he's a good pocket passer with a good arm, goes through his progressions really well, usually stands in the face with some pressure, he'll take the heat, but it's enough to take a day 3 shot on him, a dart throw, but that's about it, really. Once you get past these top 5-ish, depending again where you have like Bo Nix, it drops off pretty far. I'm not going to call it like as far as like the Jaron Hall drop, but I think if you want a quarterback and you expect that guy to come in and make an impact early on, I think you're talking about one of these top 5-6 guys for sure.
Yeah, you tried the smaller school route with Jaron Hall, if you're the Vikings, that is, and
BYU's not a small school.
Small-ish.
He was a 5th round guy.
Their level of
5th round guy, but it's not a small school.
Yeah.
The level, okay. The level of conference competition, not as impressive, similar to Michael Pratt. I mean, Michael Pratt intrigues me. He's the youngest of the bunch that we've talked about, but I don't know if I am willing to take that gamble unless it's a straight developmental guy. I mean, if your expectations have to be, I think, considerably lower with any of these 23, 24-year-old mid-round picks.
Right. And I haven't watched him yet either, like you, Sam. But I will say, Arif brought up his name, that the guy who's just most physically intriguing. If we're just going to take another day 3 dart throw, the guy who's the most physically intriguing, the most fun ball of clay you're going to get, it's always been Joe Milton. And don't get me wrong, like Arif said, he's not good.
No more volunteers.
He's just flat out not good, dude. He got beaten out.
Hashtag no
very
more
against helmet scouting, except I don't trust anybody who played for Tennessee. This is where I'm at.
Well,
I've never watched a snap of him.
Yeah.
No, I assume you mean in this offense, right? Not like historically ever Tennessee, right?
Dude, that's
like
like
no,
biggest,
moving forward Tennessee.
That's like the biggest head scratcher of it all. The fact that he was in this Tennessee offense that we talked about all last year with Hendon Hooker and all that stuff, that makes it so easy for their quarterback to put up monster stats, and he just fell flat on his face again. He got beat out by Hendon Hooker. He got beat out by Cade McNamara from Michigan. He's lost his starting job twice.
He has a history of getting beat. That is accurate.
Yes, but the dude, I think, has the strongest arm maybe I've ever seen in my life. No exaggeration. Like
I would give it to Josh Allen, but this arm rips. Absolutely.
Josh Allen is certainly, if Milton's one, Josh Allen is definitely number 2. But again, you got another linebacker like Josh Allen, at quarterback, 6'5", 242, something like that. He's a linebacker. He's a tank, and I think it would just be hilarious to show up to TCO in training camp in August and watch KOC try to work on this guy's mechanics and footwork and turn him into like a competent NFL quarterback. The tools are so fun and wild. He's just a funny prospect, really.
I feel like if you're trying to get a quarterback that does anything other than top out at backup quality, and you're doing this after round 2, like if you're drafting the 7th or later quarterback off the board, which is what these guys will be, you're probably just lighting that pick on fire. Like I don't know enough about all these guys. I'll let Luke and Arif talk about them. But like if the Vikings are in that situation where they say they've let Kirk walk and all 6 quarterbacks are gone and they still haven't picked one, you're probably looking up who is
funny. By the way, that scenario that you just described, they let Kirk walk and they pass,
they pass on all the quarterbacks, and you're going, "Are we doing a Nick Mullins year?" Like, I'm sorry, but like Spencer Rattler is not solving that problem. Like, you are not solving that problem in round 6.
No, and I don't think anybody will argue.
You're trying to trade for somebody. You're trying to figure out who's available. You're trying to go, all right, is there like an old veteran
Justin
out there?
Fields get traded yet? What's going on?
Yeah, you're trying to figure something like that out. It's this is something that we're talking about 1% chances here, which can still be fun, but just to put it in perspective.
You're calling up Jacoby Brissett and being like, "Hey, man,
yeah,
I know you wanted a real shot.
You ever seen snow before?
And you're better than all of them.
Come on over." Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, if you want a backup quality guy, like if you're like, hey, I really like
you can get a backup quarterback. That's what
you could get that. Yeah. if you're like, hey, Jaron Hall could develop into a good backup, he could develop into a good starter, but we have no guarantees. Spencer Rattler, I think, is like a good, like, hey, he'll like read the field and get the ball to the place it needs to go, probably. All right.
Just from like a body standpoint, it's going to be weird because Mullins is under contract, Hall is under contract. You're probably drafting another one, and you're signing either Kirk or a Bridge. Like, you're going to have 4 camp quarterbacks, which is a big number.
Someone's going to have to win a job. That sucks. Yeah, you're right. Who cares?
That's a lot of mouths to feed. They barely got so Jaron Hall was the quarterback 3 last year, and in OTAs, minicamp, training camp, they struggled to get him reps. He was barely getting any work. It was like a throw-in series here and there with the 3s and like the guys that also never got reps. But they did not prioritize the third team whatsoever. So if they have 4, I mean, hey, it does make
genuine question.
We would have enough guys to draft a quarterback in our preseason fantasy competition.
Hey, there you
go. There you go. I'm super into this now for that reason specifically. Definitely get a 4th quarterback. No, okay. So when you have that problem in the preseason and in camp, when you're not when somebody isn't getting a lot of reps, whose fault is that?
I don't know what you're getting at. Like, yeah, obviously the coaches. Like, what's the deal here?
Like, directly?
Well, in individual, most of them will throw all the time, right? And especially in like OTAs and stuff.
Oh,
like
you're saying the quarterback is not earning the reps, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Okay, but
sure. I think
I'll fight you on that though, because last year they totally neglected Jaron Hall all summer. And obviously, he's not going to be where Nick Mullins was. Obviously, that goes without.
Did he play an entire preseason game back to front?
I'm talking about every OTA practice I saw. Jaron Hall was relegated to sideline clipboard guy. Like, don't you want to put a new quarterback in situations?
My pushback on this is they never wanted a rookie to be the primary backup. That is no longer the case heading into this year, right? That he's not a rookie anymore. And I think he will be able to genuinely compete for that backup job in a way that he wasn't able to genuinely compete for it last year because they just didn't want a rookie to do it, right? They probably saw him take a little bit of time in spring training, getting to his reads, and were like, yeah, this is not a case where he's going to magically just be good. So we're just going to wait until we can develop him, and fine. So I think that he will genuinely get a chance to compete for the backup job, and we'll give him reps this time. I don't think it's a case of we're never getting our 3rd quarterback reps. I think it's a case of, hey, man, Jaron Hall didn't show it early, so we're not going to waste time. We're just going to make sure that our backup is prepared. Of course, he got injured, but like, that's life, right? Turns out the Vikings were much better without a prepared backup. Don't know really how often that happens, but fine. Right? So, I think that was, I'm not going to say a unique case, but a case that doesn't apply to what we'll be seeing heading in here.
Yeah, all fair points. I want to talk American Idol, Blake Proehl, Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and all things music and culture next on the Minnesota Football Party. And we're brought to you by Game Time today. Game Time gives you the best ticket options to all the sports, all the music, all the comedy, all the theater near you. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat. It's zone deals that you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. Game Time guarantee means you'll get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. All-in prices show your total up front. You know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. That's all it takes. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Big week coming up here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Ron Johnson show has part 2 of his CJ Ham interview tomorrow. They get deep talking about off the field, family, and a lot of good stuff with Ron. Wednesday, Minnesota basketball party, previewing the Wolves' second half of the season, and we're back on Thursday on the Minnesota football party. So Blake Proehl is retired, apparently.
Wait,
Was
he's
this
just, like straight up retired?
well? Yeah, that's
Probably.
the vibe
He's going
I
up
got.
for American Idol. That was always his plan, was to try to sing.
Yeah. Was this? I didn't know this. I didn't know that he was done with football. I think he's done with football. I watched the full segment, Blake Proehl on American Idol. I have some nitpicks. Did you guys watch, or am I the only one?
I watched the clip you sent. Yeah, I watched it.
I'm scrubbing through it right now.
Yep.
I watched during the ad reads, which is one reason why I was muted earlier.
So has
so I've got
anyone
takes,
here
obviously.
heard Blake sing before? Like anyone heard him sing live?
Before this?
Not live.
I have not.
Okay.
But he's gone viral a couple times.
I got
on,
to
like,
go
random
to
TikToks and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I got to go to the Thielen Foundation last summer, and Blake got up there and sang a few songs. He's legit.
He was pretty good on the show.
He's legit.
He's
Gave
really
Katy Perry goosebumps.
He's legit. I mean,
Okay,
I haven't watched American Idol in, like, I'm not even kidding you, a decade. If I do watch one of those shows, it's like maybe AGT I'll watch here and there, see the viral clips and whatnot. But I don't know how fierce the competition is. Maybe I'm being a homer. I think he could make it down to the top.
What's the
three, top
FanDuel
five.
line?
With the top
Minus money?
Yeah.
Okay, I would. They would 100% need to. So here's the problem with American Idol, which I don't know much about
Katy
reality
Perry.
television.
Katy Perry
or
is the
music
problem with
or
American
Idol.
No. Every time they show her,
What?
she's just doing something uncomfortable. Like,
Give me
Really?
one. Give me one.
Yeah, she's a very emotive person. The camera's
during-
going to catch her all the time.
during Blake Proehl's performance, she's like looking at her arms, goosebumps, like a crazy
Oh
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good television, Sam.
That was
what?
Cringe television. Okay. Cringe
To
if
you,
that's good television.
to
sure.
the intended audience,
It's
it's
a
great
wild
because
take. Okay.
the whole point of reaction shots is that it cues the audience on how to react. You know, a lot of those reactions don't come from the performance that they're watching. They just stitch them together.
Oh,
for
yeah, it's all
whatever's
edited.
important.
Oh,
Anyway,
they wouldn't dare.
Yeah, on reality television. Why would they call it reality television?
Cheating
Anyway,
on reality television.
I would rather
This
look
is-
into
Blake
Lionel
Clarkson
Richie's
wasn't an organic-
gazing eyes than have like the weird Katy Perry
That's a
reactions.
personal
It makes me
preference that I
uncomfortable.
believe most of the audience does not share with you. Anyway, the thing I was gonna say is that American Idol did genuinely start as a genuine fair competition, and over time has become less of a fair competition. And part of it is producers just pushing musicians up that they think will be good television. And I think a former NFL player is likely subject to those particular pressures.
Yes.
I'm not saying Blake Proehl is bad at singing or anything like that, but I just don't know that their reactions to him were genuine.
Well,
I don't know very much about music. I don't know very much about singing. I obviously have hot takes, so let's go.
Well, to that point, I think he does have the pipes. I've heard it live. That's the biggest
very good.
prerequisite.
Very
when you
good.
say
checks
live,
all the other
you
boxes,
mean in
though.
person, or do you just mean? What do you mean live?
Luke saw him live for real.
Okay.
Live.
I was on the phone when he was asking Luke.
I was live, baby.
Live.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But you're
So-
right though. Oh, Reef, you're right. I think he checks the other boxes that the producers of the show are going to look for. He's got the boy band good looks. He's got the versatility to go, hey, I can go piano or I can go acoustic guitar. That's
The
huge.
piano was
got
very
the boy
helpful, yeah.
vocal. He's got the story. Everybody's got to have like some sort of
Yeah,
good story.
I mean,
Oh,
they
my
made it
football
sound like
career
he
was
never
cut
played again
short.
after the injury, which
Yeah,
was
it was a
which was
freak
not true.
injury.
But
yeah, I was gonna
Good,
make it to
it's
the Hall
good
of Fame.
enough for reality television.
It's good enough.
Like-
Yep, he's got the grandma here by his side.
The
wants to
grandma's
make
the
her
ringer.
Proud.
That's
Yeah,
the ringer
so-
that's gonna.
that helped a lot.
Well, here's the deal though, because the next challenge now is going to be like a stage performance. Is he going to have the chops for a stage performance without grandma hanging there?
True.
That's
right,
a good
because
question.
True.
she's like the
Right.
sort of the proverbial like
Well,
blanket.
How does he
I
do
think-
without the supporting cast? You know, that's
Well,
the question we always
this
ask.
is where I'm going to swing it back to. Like AGT, they have them right behind the curtain, and they keep showing that family member or loved one like sitting like 30 feet away, just at the edge of
a great
stage.
bit that they do, by the way.
Great bit.
I love that they
Yeah.
do that.
Great bit.
Well,
And
here's
it's
my
always
takes.
who's the other guy that hangs out with the Old Spice guy? He was on a Brooklyn
Terry
Nine-Nine.
Crews.
Terry Crews is over there. Yeah,
I thought it was like Nick Cannon.
Used to
hanging
be
out.
it
Nick
was for a
Cannon.
while. It was for a while.
Used to be
Is
Regis
not Nick
Philbin.
Cannon
The
anymore?
original, the OG was Regis.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
was
Okay,
it?
that's great.
Wow, I
That's
didn't know
so great.
that. Wow.
Anyway, my takes on Blake Proehl singing. Again, I don't know anything about singing or music. I think he's got great pitch. I think that he did not demonstrate range in his song choice, which he's going to have to, right, in order to advance. And I think that and this is pretty common among American Idol contestants fairly early on. So this is not like, whatever, but like he didn't throw himself into it. Like there was not as much body in that performance as I think that you would need in order to be successful. Like he needs to throw himself into it and not make the mic do the work of like boosting his volume or anything like that, which will boost his like range. Again, I don't know much about singing, but it just feels like
well you get far enough
like
in the
not,
show and they'll rip your song
like
choice. Like if the song choice doesn't show off what you can do. I mean, Simon Cowell, and I know he's not a judge anymore, but he would get on
AGT. He's a judge on AGT.
He's AGT, right? I just follow Simon wherever he goes. That's why I don't watch American Idol.
Yes, I just
Big Simon Cowell fan.
But it's like, being a Tom Brady fan, like, hey, he's no longer the Patriots. He's on the Buccaneers. I'm a Buccaneers fan now.
It's more of a basketball move, but okay.
I think Blake should do a flex and cover Lionel in front of Lionel. I think that should be his next
Somebody's
play.
had to have done that before,
yes, people have had to have done that, and I bet it's a bad idea.
What if he rewrites Sunday morning, like around his football career?
Actually, yeah.
Like,
dude, cover Katy Perry, actually.
Yeah.
No, I think Arif, I think you're right as far as like the range goes. Obviously, I'm going to give you my best and my perfect ideal range. That first one. Now, after that first one, you get the pass. Now things get a lot more difficult. And you're right. I mean, I can't imagine how nerve-wracking that has to be.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Maybe you get more comfortable. You get a little bit more energy into it. You give it your all. And then hopefully, again, that's the hope once you get past that first and second stage. I feel like you do get better and better. But yeah, some people, and this happens to a lot of people, they give you their best on the first one. You get the pass, and then it's like, all right, I got no gas left in the tank. I can't keep wowing you week after week after week. That was my best.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nana, who's the grandma's name, Nana was definitely the trump card for the first performance, but that novelty is going to wear off.
Well,
he's going to sing a bunch of country, isn't he?
Don't beg Nana like that, man. Dude, here, checks all the boxes. Got the pipes, devilishly good looks, versatility. You can line up in the 4-3 or the 3-4. Dramatic background. He's got the story. And he's got the family man factor, a.k.a. pulling that grandma card. So, again, I haven't watched American Idol, and I'm not kidding, probably over a decade. But
the other acoustic guitar, get a ton of range on a well-chosen country song. I think he could resolve my concerns.
So
which I'm sure is at the top of his mind.
So when he got done and went and hugged his mom at the very end, I haven't seen Ryan Seacrest like compared to somebody else. Is Ryan Seacrest? I mean, Proehl's 6'1". So quick math tells me
he's losing him in the crowd.
5'7" on a good day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good day. How old is Ryan Seacrest?
The Napoleon of network television. Seacrest. I looked this up on New Year's Eve, because I saw him doing Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, and I think he was maybe high 40s, upper 40s.
It's got to be.
I think he started really young. Like when he first started hosting, he was in his 20s, man. Mm-hmm. Let's double check. Live research.
But I mean, like, it doesn't seem like he has changed. He's aged that dramatically.
49.
Looks like he's aged like 7 years. When
he looks good. Like, you can tell he's aged for sure. Yeah. But no, still looks good for his age. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good for him.
We'll have weekly updates. I don't know if it's next. Probably not next week, because don't they have like weeks and weeks of auditions and then they bring everyone together in the Hollywood?
What are you asking me for, Sam?
I'm going off of my last viewing of it, which is like Luke, probably about 2005.
Okay, yeah, whatever you say, man. Sounds accurate to me.
Philip Phillips. It's the last guy I remember.
Did this place your home?
It's a name.
It's a guy.
Oh,
it's a guy.
Who's the thing?
Who's that Taylor guy that sang country?
Taylor Hicks?
Yeah, he was pretty good.
His name was Hicks and he sang country.
That's probably the biggest. See, this is my goal of watching the show. That's probably the biggest like bust. That's the Jamarcus Russell of American Idol.
Oh, is it really?
Well, he's recording
never had a career really
poorly, but his American Idol performances were great.
Oh yeah, fan favorite. Just didn't quite have it when it came
Ruben Studdard.
Ruben Studdard.
Hey, that guy ruled. That guy ruled.
2004.
Soulful. Let's end the show with a couple of these.
Start the clock. It's time to execute the 4-minute drill.
Free agency series moves on with kickers.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Okay, let me look up the kickers real quick.
Year by year accuracy. I'll stall for you. 18th, 28th, and 28th with the Vikings. 82.5% on field goals over the 3-year span. Only 4 that were worse. Will Lutz, he got traded. Mason Crosby, he lost a job. Brandon McManus, cut. And Jason Sanders, who does remain with Miami, probably not for long. So not great company. I think they need a new one. Greg Joseph is a free agent. And there are no shortage of names. That would be an improvement.
There's a significant shortage of names.
What? I mean, I don't know if guys have been extended like in the last couple of weeks. I'm not aware of. There's not there are 5 or 6 that would be improvements.
4 of them are 35 or older, I bet.
Yeah,
okay,
I
don't care about
kickers.
kicker age. That doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Your minimum
How
salary
old's
just go
Kaimi
up
Fairbairn? Kaimi Fairbairn.
He's
cannot
30.
travel.
He's young.
Young man. Sign him.
Yeah. Also, I think the Texans will extend him. He's in a void year, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to sign anyone who's like 37 or 40, not because I'm worried about like a developmental prospect, but because they could just drop off at like any moment. It's like what happens to kickers too. Like it happens to every position. Also happens to kickers, right? So that takes off like Greg Zuerlein. It takes off Nick Folk. 35 includes like Brett Maher, who, I don't think has done well since he left the Cowboys. I don't know, man. Randy Bullock, I want him.
Chase McLaughlin.
Yeah, I
Bring him
like
back.
McLaughlin or Cameron Dicker because of all those options. Both those guys are in the top 4. Cameron
Dicker's an exclusive rights free agent.
So what do I got to do? I got to match
able to
their
tender
tender. I got to match their offer and give a 6-round pick.
Urfa would mean he has a free pass back
right.
to his team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe McLaughlin, I guess.
I like McLaughlin.
I just pulled up the list as well. Top 4 in field goal percentage of, these 8 or 9 guys. Only a couple of these guys, including himself, was perfect at extra points. He's in the top 4 in that category. Young, ascending. What do I got? 27 and a half years old. I think he would be a huge upgrade. And yeah, of that lit, you're right, Sam. I don't know. There's just not a lot of great options that are
bring in
jumping out
Joey
to me.
Sly, bring in McLaughlin, sign an undrafted free agent kicker, let him kick it out. I agree that Greg Joseph needs to be upgraded. I just don't know that always happens in free agency.
Man, I didn't realize until Luke pointed it out about halfway through the year how bad Greg Joseph has really been.
The thing is, when he's been bad, it's not necessarily been in like clutch moments, so we haven't focused on it as much.
Kind of fooled me.
But like that doesn't continue. If he's bad, he'll be bad at big moments eventually.
Right.
So
yeah, and people made a lot about him hitting X number of kicks inside of 40 yards, but I looked at this and he's about one make better than average because every kicker's good inside of 40 yards. Like he's like 51 of 52 or whatever. If he was 50 of 52, he would be league average in those situations.
I'm hearing that Vikings fans maybe have too low of expectations for kickers.
Weird. I wonder what drives
what happened there.
Who hurt you?
Yeah. It's no longer 2007. We have to, despite the American Idol talk, we have to get kickers who can boot it from 50, right? Like that's the game.
Somewhat reliably.
Yeah. Mind you, if you're booting it from 50, you probably made a bad 4th down decision somewhere, but whatever. Get a guy who can do it and then figure out your decision-making matrix afterwards.
And we end with this.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
We can get into Luke Inman's tease from the Open, the All-Star game. And all All-Star games just are terrible. I mean, I've watched the NHL, the NFL, and the NBA now in the last month.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, I didn't watch for long. Got some issues. We got some issues. Chris Finch's defense. Maybe that's the big issue, Luke Inman.
Yeah, Chris Finch, coach of your Minnesota Timberwolves, just coached a basketball game, guys, where his team gave up and allowed 211 points, most in NBA history. I think it's time we all sat down and talked about maybe his future in the organization and where it all went wrong for Finchy and company.
Should have given Gobert more minutes in the All-Star game.
Yeah, don't look at the game. Forget about the details. All you need to know is the team he was coaching allowed 211 points.
That's why Gobert didn't get voted in, is because they knew he wouldn't fit the vibe.
The vibe.
Do we
That's what they
judge?
think of, yeah.
Yeah. Do we judge Cat for like trying because he scored 50?
Score 50.
Yeah.
Do we judge him for trying that hard to score 50, or do we judge everyone else for?
I'm not judging either of
Lollygagging.
them. If you want to try. That sounds like fun. If you don't want to try, why should you? Right? It's an all-star game. You don't get anything more out of it.
It
Hey, did he
sounds
get-
like
Did he get top 2 in the 3-point contest? Lillard won?
Did he make
he,
the
like, missed
final
one,
and
right?
got third?
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
I didn't
Something
see
like
it.
that.
it sounds like if you just like default to being judgmental of Karl-Anthony Towns, you're in safe territory. Like that feels like a
That's a good-
popular take,
correct,
kind of
yeah,
no matter
yeah.
what.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll say this. It does not seem like it takes a lot to get players to become competitive, as evidenced by the in-season tournament. So if they really desire that, they can just add incentives to the All-Star game, and players will begin competing for it again. Like it doesn't seem like it's a too heavy of a burden. So that's a genuine desire. You can get them to try. They were trying as recently as 2020. Like, I mean, I know the scores are really high then too, but like you saw people playing defense, rotating the ball around. Like there was like a lot of ISO ball in this one. The only reason I know that is because our sponsor is Prize Picks, right?
Yes.
The only reason I know that is because I had an assist over under for the All-Star game in Prize Picks, and tons of points were getting scored, and there were not a ton of assists. I didn't actually watch the game, so I assume
More than
a
less
lot
than,
of
you
ice
mean.
ball. Sorry, more than less than. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't refer to it as an over under.
No, that's not what it is.
Yeah, it was in a tournament with a bunch of other fantasy players, and in my tournament, I picked more than 6.5 assists for who was it? Who was the one that didn't care? It wasn't Luka. It was Nikola Jokic. One of the two Eastern Europeans that did not care. And I wasn't going to hit it until suddenly he hit 9 at the end. So fine. But like, obviously there's a lot of ISO ball. So they clearly just weren't playing like basketball. And in 2020, 2019, 2018, they were playing like basketball. So it probably doesn't take a lot. So if you really want to fix it, and I'm not convinced that this is a problem that needs fixing, I would rather they fix the slam dunk contest than make the game competitive, because the slam dunk contest rules if you do it right, and it's not like hard to do it right. You just have to judge it better. And if you want to get rid of props, fine. I know some people say that. I don't actually care about that. You can keep the props. You can keep the LED court rule.
Mm-hmm.
Just like judge it better.
Yeah. Have some standard and dock for missed dunks.
Dock, but don't like disqualify, I think, because I think you like, I know a lot of people were like, you can't, if you miss dunks, you got to like a heavy penalty or whatever. And the thing is, and in the old dunk contests, people were just making the dunk, so you didn't have to worry about it. And now they're not doing it. I think it saps a lot of energy out of the atmosphere when they miss a dunk, right? So I don't like seeing it. But the thing is, a heavy penalty on dunks discourages creativity. That's the one thing, right? And so I don't want to discourage creativity, but I do think there needs to be something about, like, if you miss a dunk, there's a lot less energy in the room because of it. You get to retry, but it has to be phenomenal for the retry to mean anything. So those are my NBA All-Star game takes. Great.
Covered a lot of ground there.
I'll make that my party foul. Fix the
Beautiful.
dunk
I think
contest.
we're all upset with All-Star game formats, and we're out of time. The Lukes, Arif, I'm Sam. We're back on Thursday on the Minnesota Football Party, available on Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. Please subscribe, and Locked On Vikings podcast feed. Listen to us there. Thanks for watching and listening today. We'll talk to you soon.